Good morning, everyone. As always, place your cross on first. You know, I got something to read today. It's gonna take a little. I'm gonna be bouncing around a little bit, but you'll understand, and I'm sure I will too. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. You know, a lot of things that happen in our life, they happen because of disobedience to the Lord. You know, most people, I know God is forgiving, but sometimes one mistake can cause a chain reaction in your life that'll last a lifetime. You know, yes, God forgives, but that don't mean there's no consequences. This is a story of consequences. Let's start with 2 Samuel chapter 12. Now, I read this already before. Now, let's know what happens. David slept with another man's wife. His wife, sent him to the front lines to be killed, and the Lord saw it, and the Lord took action. Let's start with chapter 12, verse 8. Now, this is the punishment for David's one mistake. And Nathan, 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 7. And Nathan said to David, Thou art the man. Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I anointed thee king over Israel, and delivered thee out of the hand of Saul. And I gave thee thy master's house, and thy master's wives. Everything is important. Pay attention. And I gave thee thy master's house, and thy master's wives into thy bosoms. Now, pay attention. I gave thee this, and I gave thee that. You see, Uriah's wife, he didn't give to her. David took her. And gave thee the house of Israel and of Judah. And if thou had been too little, I would moreover have given unto thee such and such things. I would have gave you so much more. Now think about that. I'm talking to you now. I would have gave you such more. Wherefore thou hast despised the commandment of the Lord to do evil in his sight. Thou hast killed Uriah the Hittite with the sword, and hast taken his wife to be thy wife, and hast slain him with the sword of the children of Ammon. Now therefore, this is the judgment of the Lord. I know you're like, man, that's kind of harsh. God's judgment is just, it's pure, it's perfect. Now therefore, the sword shall never depart from thine house. What he said? The sword shall never depart from thine house, because thou hast despised me. How did he despise him? By breaking his commandments. And has taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be thy wife. Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will raise up evil against thee out of thine own house. Look at this judgment. And I will take thy wives before thine eyes, and give them unto thy neighbor. And he shall lie with thy wives in the sight of this sun. For thou didst secretly, but I would do this thing before all Israel and before the sun. What he said? He said, you did it secretly, but I'm going to do this thing in the open. You see, one thing about it, why this happens? Because God don't want you to make the same decision. You know, we want to do secret things, but God will expose you. And then he'll show what you did, like you reap what you sow. It's like people don't understand that. You reap what you sow. And the thing is, it's going to be exposed. And just handle the judgment. You can't treat people bad and do things to people and expect no consequences behind it. But let me say something before I continue. But David never stopped calling on God. He took that judgment. He took it like a man of God supposed to. Because whom the Lord loves, he chastises. Let's see how it starts. I bet he never thought the man, his neighbor, would be his own son. His own son. He's going to start it. He's going to do exactly what he said. What he said, let's see what the Lord said. Now therefore the Lord, the sword shall never depart from thine house, because thou hast despised me, and hast taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be thy wife. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up evil against thee out of thine own house. Now, key word, I'm going to raise it up out of your house. Then, and I will take thy wives before thine eyes and give them unto thy neighbor. Now think about it, it's going to be a neighbor from thine own house. And he shall lie with thy wives in the sight of the sun. Strife. And he gave him one specific thing that coincides with his sin. I'm going to take your wives, your concubines, and allow somebody to sleep with them openly. Sin, the wages of sin are death. Sin. Let's go to chapter 13. Let's see who this person is. And it came to pass after this that Absalom, the son of David, had a fair sister, whose name was Tamar, and Ammon, the son of David, loved her. And Ammon was so vexed that he fell sick for his sister, Tamar, for she was a virgin. Look how the strife starts. That spiritual energy just flowing through his bloodline. And Ammon was so vexed that he fell sick for his sister Tamar, for she was a virgin, and Ammon thought it hard for him to do anything to her. But Ammon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of Shemaiah, David's brother. And Jonadab was a very subtle man. And he said unto him, why art thou, who art thou, being the king's son? Lean from day to day. Wilt thou not tell me? And Ammon said unto him, I love Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister. And Jonadab said unto him, lay thee down on thy bed, and make thyself sick. And when thy father cometh to see thee, say unto him, I pray thee, let my sister Tamar come and give me meat, and dress the meat in my sight, that I may see it, and eat it at her hand. So Ammon lay down and made himself sick. And when the king was come to see him, Ammon said unto the king, I pray thee, let Tamar my sister come, and make me a couple of cakes in my sight, that I may eat at her hand. Then David sent home to Tamar, saying, go now to thy brother's Ammon's house, and dress him meat. Now, I'm sure David would have never thought that his son had those kind of eyes to sleep with his own sister. Like, well, I'm going to send my sister over, send my daughter over there to help you out. Tamar went to her brother Ammon's house, and he was laid down, and she took flour and kneaded it, and made cakes in his sight, and did bake the cakes. And she took a pan and poured them out before him, but he refused to eat. And Ammon said, have out our men from me? And they went out, every man from him. And Ammon said unto Tamar, bring the meat into the chamber, that I may eat of that hand. And Tamar took the cakes which he made, and brought them into the chamber to Ammon her brother. And when she had brought them to eat, he took hold of her and said unto her, come lie with me, my sister. And she answered him, nay, my brother, do not force me, for no such thing ought to be done in Israel. Do not this folly. Now, what is she saying right there? According to the commandments of the Lord, you don't supposed to sleep with your sister. It's abomination. Evil in the sight of the Lord. But look what happened. The wages of sin start producing evil. It's like you give root to the devil to weave his web through your life when you do evil. put all these thoughts. And I whither shall I cause my shame to go? And as for thee, thus shalt be as one of the fools in Israel. Why he gonna be a fool? Because he disobeying the commandments of the Lord. But why is this happening? Because of what David did. Sin started weaving his web again. I pray thee, speaking to the king, for he will not withhold me from thee. How about he would not hearken unto her voice, but being stronger than she, forced her and lay with her. And Ammon hated her exceedingly. Look, that lustful spirit, that spirit of lust, that demon, after he did the evil deed, he didn't want no more part of her. After he done took her virginity, want no part of her. Then Ammon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred wherewith he hated her was greater than the love wherewith he had loved her. Look at that moment of lust, that moment of passion. I want this so bad. Then he got it. He's like, and Ammon said unto her, arise, be gone. And she said unto him, there is no cause. This evil is in sending me away is greater than the other that thou didst unto me. But he would not hearken unto her. Now, if you read the commandments of the law, when you do such thing as this, you go to Deuteronomy to Numbers. If you rape a woman and take her virginity, you shall be stoned and killed. But the woman shall not be at fault. But this is the king's son. Then he called his servant and ministered to him and said, put now this woman out for me, and bolt the door after her. And she had a garment of divers colors upon her, for which such robes were the king's daughters that were virgins apparelled. So virgins were a certain thing. Then his servant brought her out and bolted the door after her. And Tamar put ashes on her head and rent her garments of divers colors that was on her, and laid her hand on her head and went on crying. And Absalom, her brother, said unto her, hath Ammon thy brother been with thee? But hold now thy peace, my sister. He is thy brother. Regard not this thing. So Tamar remained desolate in her brother's Absalom's house. But when King David heard of all these things, he was very wroth. And Absalom spake unto his brother, Ammon neither good nor bad. For Absalom hated Ammon, because he had forced his sister Tamar. Evil has begun to spread from one brother to the daughter to the other son to Absalom. Evil spreads. Good does too. And it came to pass after 2 full years that Absalom had sheep shearers in Baal-hazor, which is beside Ephraim, and Absalom invited all the king's sons. And Absalom came to the king and said, behold now, thy servant hath sheep shearers. Let the king, I beseech thee, and his servants go with thy servant. And the king said to Absalom, nay, my son, let us all not go, lest we be charged unto thee. And he pressed him. How about he would not go, but blessed him? Then said Absalom, if not, I pray thee, let my brother Ammon go with us. And the king said unto thee, why should he go with thee? The king like, what's up with that? He know. One thing about it, sin is forgiven, but people don't forget. But Absalom pressed the king, and that he let Ammon and all the king's sons go with him. Now Absalom had commanded his servants, saying, mark ye now with Ammon's heart is merry with wine. And when I said to you, smite Ammon, then kill him. Fear not, have not I commanded you? Be courageous and be valiant. And the servants of Absalom did unto Ammon as Absalom had commanded. Then all the king's sons arose, and every man gat him up upon his mule and fled. And it came to pass, while they were in the way, that the tidings came to David, saying, Absalom hath slain all the king's sons, and there is not one of them left. Then the king arose and tore his garments and lay on the earth, and all his servants stood by with their clothes rent. And Jonadab the son of Shemaiah, David's brother, answered and said, let not my lord suppose that they have slain all the young men. The king's son of Ammon only is dead. For by the appointment of Absalom, this have been determined from the day that he forced his sister Tamar. Now therefore let not my lord the king take the thing to his heart, to think that all the king's sons are dead, for Ammon only is dead. He said the wages of sin is death. And you see what sin produced? Ammon got the consequences of raping his sister. But evil, this is meant. Why? Oh man, the Lord is so hard. Why would the Lord allow something like that happen? To show you something, to show us something. We can't just go along around sinning expecting no repercussions. That's what people think. Lord, forgive me for this, Lord. He forgive you. But you got consequences. I don't remember your sin no more. But you got consequences. And Absalom fled, and the young man that kept the watch lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there came much people by the way of the hillside behind him. And Jonathan said unto the king, behold, the king's son come as thou. Servant said, so it is. And it came to pass, as soon as he had made an end of speaking, that, behold, the king's son come, and lifted up their voice and wept. And the kings also, and all his servants wept very sore. But Absalom fled, and went to Talmai, the son of Ammihud, king of Geshur, and David mourned for his son every day. So Absalom fled and went to Geshur, and was there 3 years. And the soul of King David longed to go forth unto Absalom, for he was comforting concerning Ammon, seeing he was dead. Now Joab, the son of Zeruiah, perceived that the king's heart was toward Absalom. And Joab sent to Tekoa, and fetched thee thence a wise woman, and said unto her, I pray thee, feign thyself to be a mourner, and put on now mourning apparel, and anoint thyself with oil, but be as a woman that had a long time mourned for the dead, and come to the king, and speak on this manner to him. So Joab put the words in her mouth. And when the woman of Tekoa spake to the king, she fell on her face to the ground, and did obeisance, and said, Help, O king. And the king said unto her, What aileth thee? And she answered, I am indeed a widow woman, and my husband is dead. And thy handmaid had 2 sons, and they strove together in the field, and there was none to part them. But the one smote the other, and slew him. And behold, the whole family is risen against thine handmaid. And they said, Deliver him that smote his brother, that we may kill him. For the life is his brother whom he slew, and we was destroyed to the air also. And so they shall quench my coal which is left, and shall not leave to my husband, neither name nor remembrance unto the earth. And the king said unto the woman, Go to thine house, and I will give charge concerning thee. And the woman of Tekoa said unto the king, My lord, O king, the iniquity be on me, and on my father's house, and the king and his throne be guiltless. And the king said, Whatsoever saith aught unto thee, bring him to me, and he shall not touch thee any more. Then said she, I pray thee, let the king remember the Lord thy God, that thou wouldest not suffer the revengers of blood to destroy any more, lest they destroy my son. And he said, As the Lord liveth, there shall not one hair of thy son fall on the earth. Then the woman said, Let thine handmaid, I pray thee, speak one word unto the Lord the king. And he said, Say on. And the woman said, Wherefore then hast thou thought such a thing against the people of God? For the king doth speak this thing as one which is found faulty, and that the king doth not fetch home again is banished. For we must needs die, and are as water spit on the ground, which cannot be gathered up again. Neither doth God respect any person, yet doth he devise means that his banished be not expelled from him. Now therefore that I may come to speak on this thing unto my lord the king, is because the people have made me afraid. And thy handmaid said, I would not speak unto the king. It may be that the king will perform the request of the handmaid. For the king will hear to deliver his handmaid out of the hand of the man that would destroy me and my son together, out of the heritage of God. Then the handmaid said, The word of my lord the king shall now be comfortable, for as an angel of God, so is my lord the king to discern good and bad. Therefore the Lord thy God will be with thee. Let me pause and I will continue.